executives and your bosses and agency leaders, sales leadership can be the worst offenders here. You get back from a conference and 2 days later they want to know how many deals you've brought in. And that's not the world that we live in. Hey everyone, it's Keith Pape over at YPM, and time to do another podcast. Today, always getting feedback from the Who's-He What's It. We're feeling very Fifth Element today. I felt like Bruce Willis just came over and said, Corbin Dallas, very short, I'm very, Mila Jovovich, I'm all, so we'll see how I do about that. So I made sure to have 2 energy drinks before we started. This should go completely fine. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things that gets me up in the morning, the biz dev side of things if you're on the agency side. Or, even if you're on the brand side, understanding, you see the outcome of biz dev and these sharks chasing you down at every convention and in your email and on your LinkedIn. But what does it look on the other side, and how can I help those that are kind of coming up in the industry? Building relationships. I think that that's the most important part of this entire thing. If you don't love the relationship building side of it, biz dev definitely isn't for you. And I'm sure we've all seen it. We've all been, on the receiving end of that guy who, either in real life or virtually, is just there long enough to pass on his information. In the real world, it's like you're standing in a circle of 4 or 5 people having a nice conversation. Somebody walks up, kind of interjects a laugh, a comment. You don't know who they are, and all of a sudden, their business card is in everybody's hand. The virtual version of that is somebody reaching out to connect on LinkedIn, or for you to follow them or accept a DM, and you look and you have some connection to them. They know somebody that you know, and before you know it, you say yes, and they're pitching you 2 seconds later, and you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. I think it can be off-putting on both sides. Executives and your bosses and agency leaders, sales leadership can be the worst offenders here. You get back from a conference and 2 days later they want to know how many deals you've brought in. And that's not the world that we live in. Almost nobody works in that kind of immediacy. Understand that everything takes time. In every industry, whether you're in games or tech or CPG or retail, everybody's lead times are different, but almost never immediate. Now, look, everybody gets lucky every once in a while. You put your hook in the water and there happened to be a fish right there and something bites and something lands. Great. You know what? Appreciate it, say thank you, light a candle, whatever it is that you do, you can be like Benny from The Mummy, just pull out all of them and see whichever works for you. But that's not what day-to-day really is like. It's a grind, it's a slog. And that sounds negative, but it's not. It sets the appropriate expectation on it. Make sure you're in it for the long haul. Set relationships. Listen to people on social media, listen to them talk. We'll follow their conversations way longer, way more. As a ratio, listen more than you speak, more than you even comment or even like. Develop that over time before you jump in and try to sell something, because you have to earn that respect. You have to earn that relationship, that connection. That connection is what it's all about. Look, some people can just jump right in and they have this transparency that I'm a salesperson, I have a job to do, and we're going to go and jump right into that immediately. I don't find it works that well. Over the last 15, 20 years of selling, I've generally found that the longer and deeper the relationship is, actually the more successful the financial side is as well, because people want to work with people they actually want to be around. As you're having these discussions and being patient, it's always going to be, well, how do you convert that? You don't want to seem like, oh, I was pretending to be your friend, but what I really want is work. One of the things I've been complimented on is that conversion process. And it's that you never hide that you're there for a business purpose. I'm here working. I happen to love what I do. I'm developing a relationship. We have these things that we have in common, that we're interested in. running, weightlifting, the military, video games, whatever it is that connects you together, it's that, but you're there obviously because of the work that you're doing. We've had this discussion before, that everybody's a gamer, but everyone also has a complex, multivariate life. You have a lot of components to yourself. I think it works the same way with most people on social, whether you're on LinkedIn or on Threads or on Blue Sky, whatever it is that eventually your interest in running gets discussed, your interest in video games gets discussed, your frustrations at work gets discussed. There are opportunities in here as you develop a relationship to be able to go and start commenting on the work as well. You can express interest in the work and also truly be interested in the hobbies and interests that you have together. Sometimes they're not hobbies, sometimes it's things like parenting or your marriage or vacation planning. They can be logistical things, they can be fun things, they can be struggles you're going through, but work is part of it. And by engaging with that and being consistent, guess what? They understand that you have a job, but they also really enjoy the time and the feedback and conversations that you're having, about the things that you enjoy. And so when an opportunity pops up, it's going to happen naturally, whether you approach them going, hey, I saw that you were looking for an agency for this, or they reach out to you going, hey, I love that we talk about weightlifting and running and triathlon and all these kind of things. I happen to have this thing going on at work, and I think you guys might be perfect for it. Let's chat more formally, get on a Zoom call and talk about work stuff. This will happen naturally. Sometimes you do have to initiate it because you have this conversation, and I've played it both ways. Waited too long, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know that you guys were open to new clients. I just really enjoyed chatting. You should have said something a long time ago." And then I'm like, "Oh God, what?" We all get there. But that conversion process, will happen organically. You do have to be conscious of it. You have to understand what you're doing, but it doesn't have to be overly produced. You have these interests and things that you do, but you also go and get into the business side of it. And before long, you're both working on projects together and, potentially talking about hobbies and interests and what book you're reading. And is the new version of D&D, is 5e better? And no, I'm an old head AD&D guy. So these things happen, and you develop a deep and complex relationship with somebody where you're interacting with a lot of time, with a lot of different ways and entry points. The nice thing about this is that when something goes wrong, you have a relationship to fall back on. And things do go wrong. No project is perfect. You're not part of everything that happens inside your company. So they may call you because they need help on something. You can fall into these multiple kind of scenarios and pieces, and that's when you know you have a real relationship. But keep on working on it. Keep on meeting new people. Show up in real life. Show up online. Take the time. Your pipeline will build, your relationships will grow, and your leads and successes and wins and referrals will all come through it. And this is just the relationship side of it. Like we talked about over the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about all the other pieces. We're going to talk about, how our convention's different and the specifics on the online tools and what about partners of this guy. This is a friend of mine. He works at a similar company. We're going to go through all of them and see how it all kind of ties together. All right, this is Keith over at YPM. We'll talk to you again next week. I'll see you soon.